and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. So hello there, beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to this Ascension update with me. This will be for the month of March and beyond, as always, because our Ascension is really bringing us to this fast forward moving momentum where we can feel this deep quickening. So I'm going to talk about the month and the energy and what we're integrating, and at the same time this applies to wherever you are in your personal development, and whenever you're watching this video, please know that. Okay, so I have much prepared for today. First, I wish to say a few things about the month in the overall scheme of things, and then I wish to read you a short Ascension message from the Spirit of Creation, which is my devotion of service, what I serve in my own embodiment of the white ray and devotion to physical ascension. So the first thing I want to say is that March is, as you know, it's a 13 universal month, which adds up to 4. And this will bring such a strong stability, the cultivation of these 3 main energies, which are the structure. We can see that as a foundation for our ascension, stability and stabilization. This requires the integration of what we've moved through, the energy current that came with the last and most powerful eclipse so far, which was the Pisces solar eclipse, the new moon, that occurred on 26th or 27th, depending on where you are on the planet, of February. And I felt this huge celebration. You know, February was an intense month, and when I say intensity, again, I would like to remind you that this applies to what's coming up to the surface and our planet and the overall collective energy that's that dense, and old structures that are falling away and dissolving. What's new, the new frequency is always of divine love, and it's pure, and that's not intense. It's just a feeling of deep joy and gratitude and our expanded consciousness. Please also know that when I say expanded consciousness, you have to know yourself and your ray, your focus. You have to know your soul first so that you can expand from that core to the higher levels, to realms of the oversoul and beyond, to reach universal consciousness and what I call the cosmic beloved journey. So you cannot move into oneness and unity without even knowing yourself and your focus. So there's things happening in steps. So this month, the first thing I felt with the 4 frequency is strong pillar foundations, because 4 is always a number that denotes that firm foundation. And for us right now, where we are, because so much new energy came in, is the physical body. For me personally, I felt this strong current of energy moving me into new health and fitness regimes, which I love, which is being more sporty, being more active, which has nothing to do with being sporty at all, but actually the strengthening of the physical body, because it's a root foundation from where we rise up the energy again. And those of you achieving that masterful completion, I've talked about this in my Rainbow Humans video, the first Rainbow Humans. Watch that if you haven't already. And from here on, our development does not stop. It's an ongoing journey of integration of soul, how much more light can precipitate in this human body, and how much we're willing to accept and allow ourselves to be within the presence of divine love. So it's going to be more and more the cultivation of tantric life force, and I talk a lot about tantric union. I have a new playlist, by the way. It's called the Tantrika, and this playlist is going to be more devoted to what I've shared with you previously, my moving into the tantrika path more and more, which is going to be more focused on the cultivation of our life force, so that we can co-create with our life force, not mentally, but truly through our body. Whenever I do intense body work, which is tantric yoga, running, hiking, very much outdoorsy, integrated with nature, my body is one with nature. I feel so much that orgasmic pulsation of life, and sometimes the stagnant energy isn't the best. We do need rest, but rest and nurture of the body, our physical vessel, is not the same as stagnation. And those of you who are very high in your energy embodiment, you've probably noticed before that when your energy levels tend to get low and you feel very stagnant, you can't always move the energy forward, and it's okay. Sometimes you need those moments. But imagine it's almost like when the sun starts to shine, like it is today, after 2 days of rain, or weeks of rain, perhaps even. Let's overdo this. Let's overextend it a bit. And when this happens, right, you can feel this sense of needing to move forward with your energy, and the sun gives you this natural uplifting energy, right? But what about when that's not possible? When the external forces seem like, okay, it's always raining or I can't go out. How do I lift my energy up? It's going to take and require a little bit of, on our own part, right? We have to do that more consciously. So engaging with our life force. And this is what my Tantrika playlist will be about, how to more cultivate that. I'm going to probably be more guided into this path from here on forward. But I wish to say that this was the strongest eclipse, and because we've achieved so much, we've created a lot of completion already. This eclipse basically started the new series of eclipses, which is going to move us into an ever-ending expanding frequency, and it requires more on our path right now from here on. That's what I heard from Spirit, is from here on, the old ways that certain souls still use to kind of lag behind, to kind of keep it as a safety net, won't work anymore. And this is going to require much more dedication and practice for our physical ascension. A lot of people might get inspired. You receive online inspiration from many people on the planet doing many things, and you say, wow, I'm so inspired. But this is about moving your inspiration into conscious integration, and you yourself becoming the energy pillar to move that forward. A lot of this was very much fire frequency. We were very much fired up. That's why we were also tired. If you're feeling depleted, tired, it's because the eclipse is a cycle. It doesn't happen over a weekend or overnight and then it's off. You're online, offline. It doesn't work like that. It's a cycle, and we're going to continue to integrate that for months to come, for years even. It's a spiraling journey, right? So take it easy. Don't think, okay, now I'm over the moon, now I'm on to new things. Yes, but take these steps that are required for you also through inner work of contemplation, integration. Don't just do the external pursuits all the time, because when we're too much engaging with things without an inner introspection as well, without inner work, inner integration, then things can feel like they're off and life doesn't have such a big purpose and meaning, because we're not working from that higher octave of our being. We're always trying to scrape things on the surface, and we're kind of always catching our tail, right? And this is how all of us felt when we went through that initiation. So this was the biggest solar eclipse so far. A lot came through sound. If you've seen my eclipse attunement, came through cosmic sound. This sound came through what I was shown, many portals of the new earth. There was a lot of dolphin and whale frequency that's always created as a wham frequency around the planet that holds the crystalline web structure together. A lot of us are plugged into that crystalline reality. A lot of us as crystal children, we are centering and channeling our knowledge and our abilities from the crystalline reality, which is a layer that, it's kind of like the completion, the overall layer that creates many levels together. It kind of like pulls them together and works from the wholeness, unity, totality aspect of all those aspects as one. That's the unity level, and this is what our new earth grid is moving through. This is what we experience as that unified self. So that sound helps us to stabilize that, to bring it into ground and embodiment. And because so much came through, it came through these main pillar points, these locations, here where I am as the creation pillar of the Alps. There was, in our portal, there was lots of polar winds. I call them portal winds, right? These portal winds are so intense. They bring the sound frequency as well. They're not just like air mass moving. Basically, you can hear sounds if you just listen. Sometimes in my Instagram or somewhere, I share a bit of that, how it comes. But it's attunement. And when I talk to other people, many of them experience that, these portal winds. What these are is, like I said, it's not just air mass moving, but this is the sound frequency that creates a whirlpool of energy that then, it's kind of like, it's hard to explain with words. I can usually, when I sense it, I just feel it. It kind of brings me instant knowing. I call it, it's in the wind, and it really literally is. It's the sound that we need to attune to the next level, if I can call it like this. And this sound is, these winds are like, most of the winds you're feeling it, you feel it like this, right? It's like this horizontal wind blowing, but these winds are also very vertical. So you can feel it like they create a vortice of energy. And through that sound, they start to ground the energy into the planet, which then stabilizes through lightning bolts. Just yesterday we had this rain, and lightning storm here with fresh snow, which is weird, 1st of March, but it really paved the way forward for this new month. Of course, it all, if you can hear it, starts to melt right away because it's already March and it's much warmer. The sun is, yeah, it's strong, and the snow cannot be sustained, but it's a very strong, potent energy came through, and through these main portal points, this is now descending on the planet. When I talked to other people who felt this, I also felt that many of these new earth portals are now being stabilized. They were stabilized, but they're now working in harmonic resonance with each other. And just how we're moving into our own harmonic convergence. And this was, I think just now, I recently noticed online, there was a 30-year celebration of harmonic convergence that took place in 87. That was the original date when they said this is now beginning. But it's a much bigger cosmic event. But on Earth, because we perceive sometimes things still in a linear fashion, in a limited mode and capacity of receiving that, that's how we perceive it. But there's a strong association with what's completing, which began there with cosmic convergence. I have cosmic convergence video series of 5 videos when you can attune to this higher knowledge, celestial knowledge. But I want to say more that these new earth portals, they're only revealed to those working with them specifically, and you won't, it's not like a geographical place, and yet it is. It's hard to explain. Those of us who are guardians of these portal places, we can see that instant new earth energy. It's kind of like connecting dots. I always call them like acupuncture points. I've explained much in my free video courses here on YouTube. You can tune into my free video courses as well, because this is also a new playlist I created, so you don't have to browse through all of my videos. Those which I usually, those are the ones that I use my whiteboard and did a lot of writing, and these are around an hour or longer videos of duration, and you can use those to gain further advancement of your soul through understanding these creation principles a bit deeper, to see that what's happening isn't just what's here on the surface. It's those of us who have this knowledge who have the ability to help you understand this, so you can see what beautiful, magnificent journey is happening right now on Earth with our own personal ascension and planetary ascension, which is the more of Gaian resonant frequency, the new Earth is starting to precipitate into the Earth, into terrestrial Terra, embodied Earth. So it's kind of becoming a synthesized unit. So the sound was very important. A lot came through, like I said, dolphin whale frequency, the cosmic attunements through our own voice. Use your voice, use your own gateway for the cosmic sound. You can attune through my Eclipse video and help you to activate your own cosmic sound translation. And like I said, these portal winds are high concentrated energy. They're created actually after those cosmic rays and everything that kind of like comes together. So when we experience portal weather, what this means is, what portal weather is you can have many different weather patterns happening at once, because the multidimensional blending of the reality is happening simultaneously, and you're tuning into it, you're like, it's snowy, it's sun, it's raining, all at the same time. What? Because this is when you're experiencing the portal energy. It's multidimensional. Portal energies are always multidimensional. It's like a gateway of energy, and you can access that more. But those of us who work with these sacred new earth portals, we are the embodied representatives, how to say that, it's hard, of this energy, how it moves through us on the human level of celestial creation as well. Yeah, I hope I got it right. Whew. So because of all of this, we feeling now more tired, because a lot is now being integrated in our bodies. But that tiredness is not always solved with just resting or just being in bed. For me, that works part-time, and then I feel so stagnant if I just lay in bed. I actually get more life force when I'm very much in movement, when I'm running, when I'm exercising. I'm just, the energies be able to be integrated faster. So those of you who are also quite literally physical in your body, working more with your body, you're going to be more present and grounded with your body. A lot of people think it's just sitting and just tuning into the earth that's grounding them. Yes, perhaps. But this is not a mental energy we're moving through now. This is a very much embodied frequency that we're initiating with this new cycle. Because our ascension is getting more and more physical. And those of us who are physical ascension guides, we're going to have bigger roles now, because souls are ready to take on a greater light into their body capacities. Okay. So the lightnings after the eclipse, that's very interesting for me, because I always observe these weather patterns, and I receive everything from the creation spirit and how it shows me what's happening with the energy and with us on the planet. How we receive it is it's always new energy coming in, and then you can feel it, and for a while you might feel tired because these new light waves come in and you'll be like, what's happening? And it is intense. And I know a lot of people still talk about things like, okay, we're always being activated, right? But there's so few who know how to teach, not teach, but basically have the knowledge of the understanding of behind the sacred alchemy of what physical transmutation of the body with ascension is. And a lot of people, I tend to notice, describe themselves as ascension guides, but in a way, there's many people who guide, each in their own perspective, right? Each has their own, like, a layout and a specific purpose. But what it means, what Spirit shows me to be an ascension guide, is to actually have a literal knowledge of ascension as an oral process, not just what, what we're receiving now and activating. It's like only a soul that has already ascended and has a rite of passage of this initiation can actually be an ascension guide of the physical ascension, because they do have the knowledge. They've done this perhaps many times, and they can be here to assist those that are going through this for the first time, and then this earth ascension. So a lot of people call themselves ascension guides. I don't feel it's always the case. Guides, yes, but ascension guides, how I'm shown through Spirit, is the literal knowledge of how this embodied process works, not just what's being activated, but how you move through this integration. And watch my previous video on the Tantrika. What is the Tantrika and Tantric union? Because a lot of that relates to this knowledge. So like I said, we are all, when you look at it, right, I was shown this bigger picture because there's many souls who connect with us. Perhaps they're not physically present in our lives. They're these beautiful souls present on the planet, and you feel them as one. And I was shown, like, we're each like on this huge spaceship, right? If you imagine a huge spaceship going through space, and it's so huge, so vast, that not all of the crew there, or inhabitants of that spaceship, are able to see each other because it's so vast. It's like in this planet, we are the same way experiencing things, and a lot of times in the same waves, but we're not physically always together because it's such a huge spaceship in a way, right? So I was shown like this, we're all aboard now. It's like we are on this spaceship Earth. But it's almost awesome how we each have our own attributes and gifts and our assignments on the spaceship. We are one. We're all in this space, physical space, together, although not always in closest proximity. But when you see it like this, it will start making more sense to you. So definitely New Earth portals are unifying. They're harmonizing. A lot of us have done this work, so now the energy precipitates. It's like the grid is becoming very active now. This is what I was strongly receiving through this eclipse. This was also a strong gateway for illusion dissolution, like many different things coming to our clarity, what's really dissolving. And I want to talk to you about a dream I had just a few days ago. I had a dream. This is one of the messenger dreams, because there's many levels and types of different dreams. And there's archetypal and symbolic dreams, and there's meetings of souls you have, and then the non-remembering dreams when you move up to the higher planes and blah blah, too much to say here. Watch my videos on that topic. But I had this dream when I was looking in the dark. I was on this terrace and I overlooked, and I thought there was an elk standing in the dark. And elk always represents spirit. Remember the Harry Potter movies, right? He was his spirit animal. And very strong and symbol. And I thought it was an elk, and I looked at it like, wow, it must be an elk there just standing. And from the dark it steps into the light, but it was actually a tiger. And tiger was very dangerous. All this time he was trying to come and superimpose and trying to cross the fence. And I was like, oh my god, and the next day tiger in the morning was still there. And I was looking at all the people walking right across the terrace and in the park. Like, what are they doing? What are they thinking? Why are they still outside? Don't they see this vicious tiger there? It's like they're just gonna get them, right? But I was shown that it doesn't affect them because they're not a part of this. They're like extras in the movie. They're just there as a set, right, in the background. And it was only aiming at me. And then it was just about, the tiger was just about to cross the fence. And all of a sudden my mom comes and she's like, come on, you gotta go higher up, right? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. We're going into this house. We'll close the door. Because the first question in the first part of the dream was, wow, can the house enter? Can the tiger enter into the house? Yeah. And there was someone with me, and he said, yeah, you can try. I'm like, wow, that's not the exact safety, right? Just this physical safety is not enough, right? And then the guidance came, like, just go up, go higher. It wasn't like in the basement, which usually represents the subconscious. It was higher up. It was in the attic, in this bedroom. And there was the safety there. I think there was some children there. And the message really coming strongly was that there's so much that's being aimed towards those that are here to establish, to be of the light, and things are for our initiation. It doesn't affect everyone. It never did, because they're not a part of that. And the reason why it affects us so much and why we're getting the messages is because it's our part. It's our journey. And it's time to find the safety in this higher upper, to move through those initiations that sometimes came through external dangers and even egoic attacks from others, because a tiger can represent many things, but in the dream he was more vicious. This animal totem gave me a message of, you see, you can be deceived. Something can look like a spirit, like first I was thinking it's an elk, but it's not. So you have to start getting really careful, really observant, but by moving your consciousness, go up, because just the external conditioning, which is okay, I can move in the house, it's not enough. It's physical. The souls now will have to get more discerning. They will have to build a greater integrity of spirit now, for the total understanding, because things that were happening on our journey, and people who were perhaps of lesser awareness, or who came and poked us and were mean or violated our sacred space, they were all a part of our journey. They were for our mastery. They were for our owning of that, mastering the earth and the polarities, for moving into our sacred space. That was so important. That was a part of the journey. And a lot of times people don't see that, and they say it's an external thing, but it's truly not. It was a part of our assignment. It was a part of our agreement to get us to now move and rise higher. It's now time. That's what the dream showed me. From these higher levels of integrity and discernment, we're going to be able to be sustained on higher levels. Okay. Now I want to share with you the message that came in, and then we're gonna return to what I wanted to share as well. But the first thing I want to tell you as well, that's really important this month, you got to watch out for that, is last month was about the eclipses, right? This month is a lot about Venus moving retrograde again on the 4th. So watch out for how number 4 plays out in your reality, because the 4, if you look at the nature of 4 in tarot, right? First you have in the major arcana, you have the Emperor again. Firm boundaries, your stability, you as the sovereign boss of your own self, your integrity, building your foundation on that self-empowerment. And then every single of the minor arcanas in 4 representation is 4 is many times like overcoming things so that you can see them as opportunities, and then you can expand, because then the next one is 5, which is change. But the 4, many times, if it's not really balanced and understood, that number, you can like grab on too tightly. You can be too much seeing things just physically, as physically safe, physical stable, but not really stable, yet fluctuating and in flow. Only in the 4 of Wands, and this is the archetype coming up really strongly now, only in the 4 of Wands we have a very positive message of that spirit firm foundations on earth, and family, and rejoicing in that, and safe home. So that's where we want to be. That's the energy we wish to establish and anchor this month, because it's a time of integration, and it's important to see what we will value: our relationship, home, art, beauty, everything we co-create around us, because Venus goes retrograde on the 4th. And these Venusian things are going to be under the radar and for us to look into. So revisiting all these Venusian matters, this happens every 1.5 years approximately, Venus going retrograde, so it is important. And the moon cycles we will have, March 12th, it will be the full moon in Virgo, 22 degrees, which is my own sun sign degrees, and Mercury in total conjunction. These are mastery degrees. And I've told you this before, that all of a sudden we have these lunations happening in mastery degrees, 22. Watch how that is playing out in your reality, how this, again, this code, this light code is trying to work with you in unison. And then March 28th will be new moon in Aries, which is going to be 7 degrees. This will be the start of our new astrological year. This is when the new year, in terms of natural new year, nature's new year really begins. We can have now more understanding of these cycles, how they're playing out in our own soul evolution and soul consciousness. Yeah, so I want to read you the message and then just talk about a few more things that I feel are very important. I also, before I go deeper, want to recommend you something. There's this book, right? My mother was reading it, and it's a very famous bestseller from Michael Singer, and it's called The Untethered Soul. It's about the fully liberated soul that moves into unity consciousness, into universal perspective. I loved, I didn't read it, but I loved some of the things she shared with me about the book. She read to me a few sentences, and I loved the fact how it spoke about many people, you know, because that was the main theme of February. So many people coming up. That was most strongly in the eclipse. Who still come, and they're still poking, and they're still talking, and they're still like blah blah blah, you know. And it's so much of that, but these people who are not working on themselves, that's what I mean. And this book also said that these people who are just blah blah but never work on themselves, they're not actually deep spiritualized people. They're not in tune with their soul, because they're so resisting the ability to work on themselves. Because working on yourself can reveal the shadow, and that can be painful at times, but that will keep you always projecting things on the outer world. They're never going to be able to fully unify with themselves. So they're still, these souls are always present, and they're yet a part of our agreement. And yet, in a way, it's time for us to have a deeper understanding why they're here and how they are, why they are the way they are, and where they are. Because it has nothing to do with us, and yet it is a part of our initiations, if you know what I mean. What is happening, what I've noticed is discernment levels, integrity levels are so stronger now, so much stronger, because you can now more easily, with your integrated light awareness, see which souls really do nurture your ascension, do really support you on your path, and which come, perhaps want to take a little bits and pieces from you, but they never fully respect you, they never give you back. They never honor you. You know, there's a lot of people who down talk about others. I had people like this, you know, they want to kind of stomp all over you, kind of try to make you feel small. They belittle you basically, but they actually do that because they see you as the leader, they see you as the guide, and yet they don't behave that way because they're little misbehaving angels. That's how I would say, little devil angels. And the thing is, if you've read those books from Newton, I don't know his name, you know, The Journey of the Souls, Destiny of Souls, 2 books, volumes of hypnotic regressions, how the soul structures actually work, you know, the soul planes, the evolution, different evolutionary states and rates. He said that there's actually a lot of lazy souls here on this planet, and there's a very minimum percentage of souls who are here to really expand and grow. And when you encounter these beings, they will be shown to you how you can further advance yourself, that you feel complete embracing and complete acceptance of every level, where it is, how it is. It helps you with your grounded earthly compassion. Because I notice so many times there's a lot of us who feel we're not worthy or good enough, because we can make them shift, or we can make them see the greatness in themselves and then in us and in all of life. We're not responsible for these souls, because we can never change the whole world. We have to work on the impact we do have. We have to start appreciating that which we do have, and I'm going to talk about this in the last part. But now I want to give you the message from the Spirit of Creation, because I asked what ascension changes are most prominent for us at this time, what we're moving through right now. And I was shown this before. I asked this already. I was shown this image, you know, of a circle, and you can imagine many different stations, like different aspects of us, and look at it broadly as planetary greater selves, attunements. And if you imagine, like, there's this dot in the middle, the eternal you, and then there's these arrows moving out, and there's like these packets of energy, like the circles around that. And what compiles them together, this last level, is the crystallized reality, which is where all these aspects, right, all these circles that encircle the dot in the middle, it encompasses everything. This is where the synthesis of the soul happens. This is the crystallization of the soul. I speak about this in my Crystalline audiobook. I'm going to talk about this in my Mission of Volunteer Souls book. It's going to be everywhere, because the knowledge I bring as a crystal child and creation pillar is from the crystallized realms. It's where the soul is unified. It's where the soul is broadened and expanded to the perspective of unity consciousness. and it receives from there, and initiatives, initiations, and the love levels are from there. So what's really important is for us to understand how this process of synthesis occurs. So these aspects are the unifying aspects of the soul's creatrix. They're coming more and more together with the ascension, broadening, and that's why we say the consciousness broadens, and then it unifies, right? And then it unifies, and it's a synthesis and stabilization of that unification that's happening for many at this time. Again, watch my Rainbow Humans video. This crystallization of the soul, the crystalline reality, I've shared this with you before, is the level where the truth that comes from there will be unified. So all these other aspects have unique perspectives. But until you really fully ascend into crystalline reality, you will still perceive them as partial truths and as partial understandings. They're going to be non-whole templates. So that's what the message is about. Listen carefully. I will explain this deeper in my next course. Watch out, it comes out this week. It's the solar consciousness, and it's the 9th level of my mastery courses. There's first 7 levels, which is the initiations of your individualized soul, because you have to know the self first so that you can expand to group consciousness in greater and greater levels, moving into the celestial spheres and beyond into the universal Christ consciousness. So with that 9th level, because first is the basic 7, then it's the 8th level I have, which is the group consciousness and the enlightened partnerships we build from there. And now this 9th level, how Spirit shows me, is the integration of that, the solar logos, the divine blueprint of that solar logos, how you live it within your soul. You know, soul logos, soul is our sun, the sun. And this is going to be explained more, and this archetype, this image, this vision I received is going to be explained more in my solar consciousness mastery course. The link will be down below once it's out, and the links is always on my self-mastery courses, and all the links are always shared down below. But now let's read the message together, and then I have only a few more things to share about what's happening with our integration, and then that's it, right? Okay, listen carefully. So what is happening for us, and the most profound changes we're now moving into with our physical ascension? The past and the future are now merging through the conscious soul convergence of the many multidimensional aspects of the self. And just as the planet is experiencing this with the unification of Gaia frequency, essence, and the core of the planet Earth, so are we experiencing this synthesis and crystal unification as human beings who are ready to step into our soul's solar logo self, the unified essence beyond polarity selves. This was recently experienced as a great clearing within many evolved and mature souls who are now ready for this next level of soul embodiment, which is an ongoing process of light assimilation. This came as an experience of a vast, profound void, and yet depth and richness of feeling experienced at the same time. This resulted in the walking away of the old systems that held together the old framework, for without them, it simply cannot be self-sustained any longer. The life force energy transmission is now ready to come through a direct source transmission within the ascending individual, meaning it no longer needs to go through filters and external sources, such as spiritual teachers, New Age beliefs, false distortions, imprints, and so on. This relates not just to teachings, but our relationships as well. The channels of instant knowing and integrity of soul recognition are now direct, and with that, one will be able to see clearly through their own soul cognizance and crystalline consciousness. This is the level which is called the I see, and you can literally draw the eye of Horus, the eye of God. I see. Is you, through that seeing, you know, and it comes directly through you, through the source. You don't need those, right, those fragmented filters that sustained your reality up to the point where you were ready to create that synthesis for you. Therefore, many of these old sources of information that are yet being expressed as partial fragments, not the whole package of unity crystalline reality, are now ready to be dissolved and surrendered. That goes for all these things: old beliefs, teachings, teachers as well, partial non-unified knowledge, understandings, and so on. There's such a vast array of knowledge expression here on the planet Earth, and yet it comes through many levels of soul evolution. So these different fragments, right? And so now those ascending individuals are ready to see and be seen within their own soul domain of evolution level. So the I see, it's a very important mantra for this month for you. The I see. Just imagine you, not just here is your third eye, but you, your whole spirit vision is this huge I see, whatever it is. If it's a situation you don't have clarity about, just say I see. I see, even if in the moment you feel you don't, say I see, because the moment you do, you're tuning into the perception that you do. You see through the clarity of the unified self. So this happens now. Where were we? Yeah. And so now these ascending individuals are ready to be seen, to see and be seen within their own soul domain of evolution. So to not go below. Many, up until this point, we're still tuning into the, let's say, knowledge or realities that were below them. And I don't mean it like there's a hierarchy, but if you are at a certain level of soul evolution and you're tapping into that which is more fragmented than you are, it does affect you in a way that's not honoring of you and where you are. So we don't do that any longer because of this new initiative. And for that, no longer serves their ascension once it's unified. The partial knowledge framework only serves one until their own counterparts are yet coming together, but then it no longer does. Then it becomes a liability, a distraction and distortion only. So one who's truly ascending must now be ready and willing to recognize the difference between those fragments that serve the ascension process as a catalyst and that which truly feeds the mechanisms of physical ascension within the unity template. The shift for the servant souls, there's many of us who are here as pure servant embodiments, is now in place too, taking them to new levels of their work and recognition for it, so that more of those who serve the light may be guided to them for ascension nourishment. And so it is with great reverence for a life that moves up the spiral of ascension, and so be it. I have to give you now first my own example with this. I was always able to see what others could not see. I always felt like, why people cannot see this? Why can they see these distortions, right? How are they not seeing that? Because I saw within the crystalline reality. It's because where I come from. I come from the crystalline levels, crystalline realms. But I could not understand. For me, it was very natural. And I didn't understand up until the point I received enough earthly embodiment through initiation for me to understand why this is so, and why there's a difference in the soul's integrity levels. The higher your integrity levels of soul, the greater your seeing will be. So the quickly now, you know, when you see these illusions and you perhaps see others do not, these distortions, now this is coming up super fast as to the I see, whoa, you're seeing things like just yesterday perhaps you thought this was the truth, and then all of a sudden you get this clarity, and it's a synthesized clarity, and you're starting to trust yourself so much more. And I was, for me, I was always super fast, but not for me, because everything is relative. People told me so many times, slow down, you're too fast, or you're too advanced, I don't get you, you know. I recently had someone share their dream with me. They said, well, I met you in a soul meeting, and it was beautiful, but then at the end you just flew away, and I was trying to chase you and catch up with you, but I couldn't, you were too fast. And I thought, yeah, because every soul is within the domain they are. I am fast, but not for me. For me, I'm like, oh, I'm super slow, right? Everything is relative. With the soul levels of evolution, I really see why are people judging this, and why there's so much judgment present is because we don't understand the hierarchy, which is basically not as in higher lower, but less or more evolved, meaning how much light a soul is ready to assimilate and how much it moves into the unified consciousness. And that just depends. It just depends where each being is and how much they have integrated that awareness. So for me, being super hyperactive is not fast. For many, they would be like, why are you so fast? Well, I can't catch up with you. Well, it's not your job. It's my job to catch up with myself, right? So this tells us that we're not here to be following others. And even today, during my run, Spirit was showing me that when people who recognize you as your guide, as one of their main guides, they will sometimes be really infatuated with what you share, and then at times they will disappear, and they will sometimes even completely deny. You know, they don't want to have anything to do with you. It's because it's okay. It's part of their process to integrate and assimilate. Because other times, if it's too much the other extreme, they will become intense followers, And for us, we're truly guides, not teachers. We're not creating followers. And these beings need to integrate on their own. So perhaps at times they will move away for longer or shorter durations of time. It doesn't matter. But they need that time for them to gain applicational wisdom, to gain their own mastery. So no master being or soul or teacher, whatever. I don't like to use these words too much because on earth we distort them. But no being of higher reverence, because like I say, where I come from, love is not perceived like love here in the human realm. Love is not just like this, ooh, fluffy, you know, I love you, you love me. Love is such great honor and such reverence, and for the personal respect of our personal spaces. And here I don't experience this. Most of the times people are like blah blah and poking you and wanting to hear everything right away, answers this and that, and that's not really behaving within that respect. You know how many times I ask people, please, if you have questions, send me an email, because that's my working domain. And people constantly find me on social media. They want to write up with me. They want to chat with me. I don't have time. I'm always creating these things that I can pass on. My work is on higher levels so they can serve within the domain where I come from, and that's me. I cannot stoop to these levels. And when people don't really respect what I say, and they constantly, you know, I tell them, please write there, and they don't listen. They continuously want to write there. And I'm like, look, I will block your messages there. I'm sorry. This is how I create my personal boundaries and my sacred space, because the love of the reverence of our personal sacred space and the domain of our sovereignty is so important. And these are souls, like I say, evolved souls with highest integrity levels. And those who do not yet understand, they will very much often act out like this. They won't respect, or they will even stomp after your work. And you're like, look, I don't close the door, but I do create boundaries. And that's the difference. There's still love. There's always love. But you can't allow these less evolved beings to stomp all over you because they just want something from ego. You can't. So this respect, this something like learning to respect and honor where we are is so important now. The key here is you cannot be everything to everyone. Second key, we cannot follow others. Our souls are free where we are. And third, we are to do what comes to us naturally. A lot of times people find me and they say, oh, I want to do what you do. First of all, you can't do what I do. I'm the only soul that does what I do, period. And it's so much important now because these high levels where everyone can share anything online, there's fine line between following and being infatuated with something or really doing the work. The souls that do honor this knowledge will do their inner work. They won't just be like, I have zillions of gazillions of questions and I don't respect at the same time, and I never reciprocate. Well, you know, recently we watched this movie I really liked, the Doctor Strange, and I loved the dynamics between him and the master teacher, right? It was a she, and how she treats him. And I love the sentence which another disciple gave when he said, you know, she's as soft and loving as I don't know what, and at the same time she's so firm and so knowledgeable. And that's for me what true love is. It's so soft and it's so firm. Duality is merged. There is no duality. There's not you're this and that. You know, many times people perceive me as a guide, or sometimes they perceive me as just a friend. And recently I had to say to someone, why can I not be both? I'm a friendly guide. It's what I am. Why do we perceive this or that? I can't be this if I am that. That's duality. Remember that. It has to be this new way. And I have to tell you something from the bottom of my heart. I was contemplating on this recently because these new high levels do acquire us to move into the space of self-recognition, self-honoring. I was observing for many years the patterns that others present me through how they perceive me. And many times there's people who never see me as a guide, who want to befriend me and then think I'm just someone sharing something. Like, they never take me seriously, right? So because of that, for years and years, a part of me, that childlike part, did not fully want to come in its recognition and really the expression that's free, because I had this fear like, people will not take me seriously then. People are so vague in how sometimes they perceive that. They take knowledge or everything that's given out like gifts for granted. And the thing is, the Spirit said, don't focus on those, you know. The Spirit told me that it's much more important to keep those levels of my maintenance, of that Trinity that I embody, the perfection of masculine, feminine, and the divine child in unity rather than to people please. Because sometimes, you know, I'm so goofy, I'm so playful, I'm so childlike, people don't perceive that as enlightened sometimes. They think, oh, that's just a person, they're sharing something. Oh, that's just like, oh, you know, and then they don't respect your private space. And I'm always in this contemplative mode. I'm always in this higher celestial frequency. I'm always receiving knowledge, and people don't get that because they're not me. They're not a part of my life. They think they can send me messages on social media and interact with me, but it's not really respectful. You know, I have to create a space of invitation as well. That's why I love the movie Doctor Strange, because at first he was kicked out. His ego was too big. And the teacher, they just kicked him out. He didn't behave. He had to literally come and beg and say, please teach me, please show me. And then she was the one who received the initiative, whether she will or not, whether she feels there's a perspective there, there's a prosperous opening there. So for me, what I was revealed by Spirit is that I guide so naturally, it's so integrated in my life that most of the times people who are not in the seership mode, they won't recognize it as guidance. They recognize it as someone just sharing a little bit about their life, right? Yeah, I do understand that, but it's nonetheless guidance. It's nonetheless supporting you in your ascension. And perhaps the book I'm writing about, the mission of volunteer souls, it's not for me, it's for all of you who've asked me for it. There's been so many people over the years telling me, write a book, please, I want to have this, what you share, all in one book. And then there's people who really want that, and yet they wouldn't respect it, and they would never support you for it, and they would never reciprocate back, and then in the end they were the ones asking for it anyway. I'm not writing this book for myself. I already know all these things, you know, and it's so much work and so much dedication, and yet I do it because for me I know there's those of us who will honor it, and it's those few that Spirit always shares with me that focus on those beings. You know, others will come around if it's their time. If not, just let it be. But that's what really is the maintenance of our own levels to keep on going, because it's so important for those who are ready. It's not about the numbers, it's about readiness. So for me, this teacher paradigm, which was shown to me, is not what I embody at all, because the old teacher paradigm was based on someone being your authority outside of you. I'm no one's authority. Sometimes people tell me, please tell me this because you're my teacher. You have to give me this answer. First of all, I'm no one's teacher that way. No one is attached to me. No one will ever be attached to me. Read that book I recommended to you from Michael Singer, right? About untethered soul, complete freedom, no attachments. You don't belong to anyone. No one belongs to you. Everything you give is shared through divine love, and that's freely and that's unconditionally. It's not through attachment. It's not through codependency. And in that regard, I'm no one's teacher. I'm simply a guide. And it's all happening through Spirit initiated through me. So because it's so naturally embodied for me, it's so organic, oftentimes people don't see it as that, and they wouldn't give it value. So they wouldn't reciprocate for it. They take it for granted, and that's okay, because these souls, perhaps they do not yet see that. They've never felt how that unconditional giving feels, and that's why they don't see it. Just recently I had a talk with someone who said, well, I've always seen you, like everything you shared with me was just like a friend to a friend. And I said, but I'm still a guide incarnate. I'm both, you know, it's not like this or that. But that deservance that comes as my own desired respect is the love that I give to be respected. That's all I ever wanted, was to just be respected for it. Nothing else. I don't need praise or reverence, nothing, because when you are a unified being, you're doing this out of love. You have zero agenda. It's all for the purity. So this old teacher paradigm for unified crystalline levels, it doesn't exist. You teach with your example. You are a way shower. You're a natural embodiment of that which you speak about. It's not just like a bunch of blah blah and then, you know, that's it. So to be a teacher of light, sometimes, because that is so organic, will not be recognized, because it's so integrated, and people will take it as sharing and friendly offering, not as true Spirit guidance, you know, but it is what it is, and I have to tell you how it is. So that's my reason of being here. Now, with this, it's not just my own example, but for a lot of us, and I have to share with you, this goes in hand now, this, super cool, Sacred Geometry activation cards, activation oracle, beautiful cards. I took one for the month of March, and of course what came out was really in perfectly in alignment with what I'm sharing today. Come into your natural domain, just be, embrace that. Don't let people walk over you. Don't let people disrespect you. When they do, see that it's for your mastery. Where you're still having those blind spots or loopholes where you allow it, that's why it's happening. This is the empowerment card. And this empowerment says, the frequency of empowerment supports our ability to show up fully and completely, uniting us with others in the deep trust that we are all connected through the same source. And that connection has to be pure. It has to be equal amount of respect, of cherishing. Just recently, one of the souls who sees me, and like I see these souls, these precious angel beings, told me, she said, you know, I bet there's so many that are like us, that are super impacted with your videos, and it feels like you speak to us directly, and those souls recognize. And I've had a few who recognize me, and just recently I just wrote it down. Someone said something about me. She said that she felt her master guides, that I'm one of them. She said, I can't explain how they feel, but they feel like they're behind angels and they're like guiding them, they're like directing them. And that's what I talk about, creation angels. So to be honest, there's not a lot of true information out there about creation pillars and these levels. I share a lot about that in my Mission of the Creation Pillar video. It's a documentary here recorded in the Alps with my recordings about this mission, about the sacred purpose, and what's the whole meaning behind it. There's a great divine orchestration that works behind all of each other's purposes, joined as one. And if you want to go deeper into this, I recommend tuning into in my own webpage, because what is shared needs to come from the one that is the representation of that level of, you know, of that which wants to be embodied in the physical. It's very important that there's an integrity behind it. It's not just informational. There's a higher sense of us becoming the community and supporting each other as well. I want to share something as well with a practical example. I've told you that there's a few souls who really recognize me, and they see you for what you are, not what they want you to be for them. They come to you with humble respect, and they really have so much love. And a lot of times these souls are so humble. They're like, oh, I'm just, you know, just something, just someone. And they have such a high level of integrity without even knowing sometimes. For me, many times these souls are shown to me. I'm like really shown who they are. And when I see them, I know. Spirit shows me these are the souls that can work with you, that you can work with, because they're more advanced. And although my energy, my sharing my love is for everyone, like your love is for everyone, but we do have also a focused devotional space here on this planet right now, as a part of what we're doing. And there's many souls who have a great impact on this planet. Like I said, sometimes I'm shown this. And I wish to share with you this little beautiful representation of how certain souls are so pure, so humble, and the way you approach them and they approach you. So recently I know this beautiful being who creates amazing art. I have to share this with you. She has these great oracle cards, but her style, it's so pure. I feel great purity in her work. I mean, I love art in general at large, but I really feel called to her work because it's so crystalline. And I always tell her, and every time I tell her, she's like, oh really, wow, well thank you, she's so humble. And I love that, it's beautiful. And I always tell her, it's amazing, I'm so happy that your work is progressing. And I said recently to her, I really wish to represent and showcase your work as well on my Instagram and work with your cards. I said, how much are they? And perhaps if you're interested, we can do soul exchange, right? For my courses or whatever you want, for my sharing. And she said, yeah, no problem, of course, yeah, I'll send it right away. She was so sweet. You know, some souls are really beautifully unconditionally giving. And so she sent me this oracle. I really must show you all of it. They're simple cards, but they're really powerful. Don't be fooled by simplicity, right? They're called the Sacred Wild Oracle. They're by Zoe Howarth from UK, beautiful magical place in the beach in UK. And she creates this most amazing gateways with this energy. And I always tell her, your heart is encoded. And when you're working for something with your heart, when it comes to your soul and it's pure, people will feel it. You know, and the moment I shared my first post, you can see it on my monthly update for March. I use these cards, they're beautiful attunements, and I share them, and already someone was asking, wow, what's these cards? I love them. You see, that's how our work of connectivity really is when it's pure, when we're working to support each other and we're all co-creating in a way. That means we won't do the same thing and we're always going to be physically together, but we will support each other and share and interconnect and intertwine, and that's what we're doing, creating this web. So that's what really support each other, and knowing that abundance, love, support, it's enough for all of us. That's true community. It's community begins in spirit, in a crystallized, unified level, and then it moves and descends onto earth, and that's how we make New Earth a reality. There's also another dream I wish to share from this beautiful soul. Sometimes these souls have dreams, and if I feel called, there's something in them, I can use that, because we're all one group, supporting each other, right? If you have something interesting coming up, you can share with me, as always. I'll see. I tune into it and I know whether it's really something to be shared or not, you know, maybe perhaps just something for you. But this was a beautiful dream, and she was dreaming about me. She was reading about archetypes and reading about archetype of the Holy Mother, the pure Mother Virgin, and she said she in the dream was shown, that's me, that's what I embody. And then she saw something like all those souls that played a part, that we're not always respecting, that we're not always honoring, which is exactly what I channeled for this message for this month. And then she writes me just yesterday, before I'm sharing this video with all of you, about this, and I saw it as such a beautiful confirmation. And she said that in the dream it was a crystal clear knowing that these souls are also part of what we're going through. They're part of our mission and design. They're part of the whole package. And sometimes we don't want to see the whole package, right? We only want the good. And there's a lot of people who say, well, this ascension path, the more you move into the light, the more you're just light, right? Bad things don't happen, or challenging things don't happen. That's not really how it goes, to be honest, at all, because you need to own your masterful light in the planetary physical embodiment. It's easy to be a celestial angel, right? Flowing, fluffy, beautiful. And if you don't have these alchemical activations, and this is what they are, they change your alchemy of the soul, they change your physical structure when they have an impact with you. So there's this cohesion of souls. And with each soul, that's what I'm shown, you can only co-create on the level of the weakest link, so to say. You know that show about the weakest link? There's always someone who will be either more fragmented or, like, you know, slowing the group down, and the group waits, right? You don't just move on and say, well, you know, forget about them. So what's really important for us is to recognize those weakest links, those that are not yet fully empowered. They're perhaps lazy to do the inner work, or they don't want to at all. But what we do, use them for our mastery, take them in, integrate what they share with us. It's the level of source that also is for a reason. And take them as a part of this whole package, right? And in the dream, she saw then us, all this knowledge that came through, wearing it as a jacket. What does that mean? Well, you embody it. You literally master it by embodying. You wear it. You become this knowing. It's not intellectual. It's not knowledge-based, but it's truly all of the facets together as one. And again, go back to that center point, all these fractals, and then a unified crystalline reality around it. And work with that I see, right? You can do like this, the I see. And the solar consciousness mastery course, the 9th level of initiation, will be ready this week. Check under this video or the next one or whatever. The link will be shared down below, but just go to the self-mastery page. So it's time for us to show all of us, not just certain aspects and parts. Like for me, I share a little bit of my goofy self, my childlike self in my Instagram stories. If you're there, you can find me there if you don't yet follow up. Just to see that we're really needing to embrace and join our spirit, the crone, the priestess, the wise one, with not this isolated image of what it means, but to merge it with earthly happiness and all the things we need to pursue to be happy on earth, to be fulfilled here. To not just be the sovereign masters, but to be the children that go out into the world and play and rejoice and create beautiful things. So like I said, it's more important to maintain this divine trinity, this divine triad, than to please other people and think what they will think. It doesn't matter. Those who know, who understand that a true enlightened being is not just someone who's like this all the time. So basically all that is left for us is to really, really enjoy this higher frequency we're now being asked to step into. And that takes time. It takes the releasing of that which is lesser than that which we're able to embody now. It takes time, courage, devotion. In the meantime, within my own source self, I embodied and I produced a lot of beautiful new things. You can now tune into my beloved music. These are the sounds, the songs of the beloved. Yeah, sounds too, because there's beautiful elven melodies. It's an epic elven journey. What I want to share about this, and again, you can share, you can see the sharing on my beloved link, share down below. It's a more higher transmission frequency that I'm able to transmit only through my words, through my language. This is only as far as I can go with my videos or writings. This is deeper, what I do with music and my art. And this is to directly transmit this essence of divine love and what true beloved union means. And then my art blog, my Grace Seraphim art blog, is about the appraisal and devotion of the creation angel's essence, the essence of the Seraphim. It's a beautiful attunement. If you look there, if you go there, you can feel the space of your heart opening. And just recently I got feedback from someone who watched the video, and he said to me, watching your art is like, oh, I'm so blissed out. It's I can feel if I saw it in person, I'd just be like staring at it. And that's the purpose behind this art, is to activate that level of you, that angelic essence self. And it's so pure what I share with these sacred offerings. And if you want to get something from our blog, I constantly update new things. It's like, it's different items, it's different meanings and purpose behind it. And if you get something that you like there, you can write me up, you can send me an inquiry. You can get that or something similar. If it's not already shared in my Seraphim collection, that's available to purchase directly on my Serapina Light webpage. So yeah, and again, this week the course is coming out for Solar Logos Consciousness, the 9th level. What else is there? Nothing. So these are the levels we're going through, and I always share this when I go through it myself. It needs to come through the embodied crystallized wisdom. Like I said, we need to own our mastery life here on earth. So check what's available. If you want something else, just let me know. But this month I will be more dedicated to continuously work on the book. I had to finish the blog and the music before I go deeper into the book, but now this is what my month of March will be about, mostly, and some of the art as well, I hope, because this is what really gets me into this divine creativity essence. And I hope you have a beautiful month of March as well. Let me know, send me some feedback, how things are going for you. Again, not live stories, just a transmission of feedback is enough. So I love you so very much within the beauty of the sacred reverence for our space that's blossoming right now, and for our unified self, the rainbow humans we are and we're becoming, many of you. And I'll see you on the other side, as always, from this beautiful space here in the Alps. Love, wisdom, and power, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.